Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the FPS here, and I wanted to share with you the most fun build I have ever created. And that is no exaggeration. You have to try your hardest to not be an orb generating machine, and good luck not topping the leaderboard with kills if you're running this build. You want a real testament to the potency of this build? My girlfriend uses it, and she's practically married to Omnioculus. So yeah, just think about that. And before we get into it, make sure you guys like and hit that subscribe button. This was a really fun video to work on. Now, as you can tell by the thumbnail, this is an Arc Hunter build, an Arc Hunter build that doesn't heavily lean on artifact mods either. So it should work just fine in later seasons should you fall in love with it. Also, no weapons are really needed for this build, unless you want something just for anti-champion capabilities. Now, as it stands, I've used 3 different exotic armor pieces for this build, so the flavor can change just a little bit depending on which exotic you like most. But before we look at the exotics, let's look at the build itself. Starting off with our subclass, we're obviously running Arc, and for the super, I like Gathering Storm because of the one and done aspect. Throw it on a boss and continue clearing adds, or throw it on a champ and stun them however you need to. Firstly, you want to make sure you have on Gambler's Dodge, so that when dodging near enemies, you get your melee charge back. And for your melee, you want Combination Blow, which increases your melee damage when defeating a target, and it stacks 3 times. It also refills your class ability and restores a small amount of health if you defeat targets with this ability. Your jump and grenade are up to you. Now let's look at aspects. The 2 aspects we're running here are Lethal Current and Flow State. Lethal Current states that after dodging, your next melee attack gets increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging any jolted target with a melee attack also blinds them. And Flow State says that defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you're amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you're more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. So those are your aspects. The fragments we're running are Spark of Resistance, which says while surrounded by combatants, you're more resistant to incoming damage. It also gives a +10 to your strength stat. Spark of Ions, which says defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. Spark of Amplitude, which says rapidly defeating targets while you're amplified creates an orb of power. And lastly, Spark of Feedback, which says taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage. It also gives a +10 to your resilience stat. So now that you've got your subclass set up properly, let's look at armor mods. Now these mods are going to be the same no matter which exotic armor piece you choose, and I'll be listing those pieces here shortly. But first, helmet mods. I've been running double hands-on mods. Hands-on gives you bonus super energy for melee kills and can be stacked, but with diminishing returns. Then on to arms. I have Focusing Strike and Heavy-Handed. Focusing Strike grants class ability energy when causing damage with a melee attack, and Heavy-Handed creates orbs of power from powered melee final blows. Now for your chest, we've got just Arc Reserves and Font of Endurance, which gives you bonus resilience when you have an armor charge. Then legs, and here we have Recuperation, which replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. Elemental Charge, we're collecting Fire Sprites, Void Breaches, Ionic Traces, Stasis Shards, or destroying a Strand Tangle, has an escalating chance of giving you an armor charge, and Absolution, which reduces all ability cooldowns when you pick up an orb of power. And last but not least, your class item. Here we have Dilation, which allows your armor charge to last longer, and Powerful Attraction, which automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So for the remaining armor mod slots, I would suggest leaning into mobility and resilience. Keep that dodge up and keep yourself alive. Now the 3 aforementioned exotics are the Assassin's Cowl exotic helmet, which states that powered melee final blows grant invisibility and restore a portion of health and shields. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the duration of the invisibility and the amount of health and shields restored. Then we have the Liar's Handshake exotic arms, and those state that using your arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counter punch that will heal you. And lastly, we have the Star Eater Scales exotic legs. Those state that you gain an additional super energy from orbs of power you pick up. While your super energy is full, picking up an orb of power overcharges your super, causing you to gain a burst of healing when cast and a bonus to your super damage. At maximum overcharge, you also gain an overshield. You can keep track of that overcharge amount by looking in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. The Feast of Light counter is what you're looking for, and it goes all the way to Feast of Light ×4 before you're fully overcharged. So out of the 3 exotics, I'd have to say my favorite is the Assassin's Cow. I'm perpetually running Void, and I just love being able to go invisible while in the thick of the battle. It doesn't give the bonus to melee damage like Liar's Handshake or the faster super like Star Eaters, but it keeps me invis and heals me, so that's just enough for me. But anyways, that's the build, guys. The gameplay loop is pretty simple, as you've probably seen in the background footage. You're just dodging and meleeing. If you have a high health target nearby, just get that combination blow stacked up and then attack. You're pretty much constantly amplified and constantly making orbs of power for your teammates. I hope you guys enjoyed my build breakdown. I've really had a lot of fun using this, and it's now one of my saved loadouts. Please try it out and let me know what you think. Maybe you guys can make it better. But anyway, that's it for me today. Please like and share if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks for watching. Peace.